Since it's the new year, many of us are refocusing our health goals and getting back on the keto diet. And if you're like me, it's also the time of year that you also get serious with your budget because you might have spent a little bit too much on Christmas over the holidays like I did. It's time to get serious with your keto goals and your food budget. And today I'm going to show you how you can create about a week's worth of keto meals for your family for about $40. So let's get started. My goal is to show you how you can only spend around $40 to feed keto meals to an entire family of 4 for the whole week. So that's keto breakfast, keto lunch, and keto dinner. And I only want to use those items that I purchased in my $40 grocery haul to make these foods. Now, a few caveats before I get started with this extreme keto budget grocery haul. I will assume that you guys have access to basic seasonings like salt and pepper and cooking oil, whether that's avocado oil or olive oil. If you have other pantry spices, that will definitely add a lot more flavor and make these recipes taste better, but I'm just kind of showing you guys the basics because we only have $40 to spend for the week. And I also wanted to add a disclaimer for the purpose of this video. You guys might think that these meals really aren't that well balanced, but keep in mind that it's only a week's worth of meals, so you can add variety if you choose to do so. And also, please know that if you are struggling financially, please seek assistance through local churches or organizations. For this extreme budget keto grocery haul, I chose to do my shopping at Walmart since it's the least expensive grocery store in my town. But feel free to shop wherever you need to. If there's a cheaper version of a grocery store, like a ShopRite, I think there's Aldi, please shop there because it will definitely save you some money. I also chose to do curbside pickup just because I wanted more control. I wanted to make sure that my groceries were going to come to as close to $40 as possible. However, the downside of doing that is they didn't have 2 of my main protein sources there, so I had to seek those out elsewhere. But if you could see up here, or I'll have it listed down below, just make sure you purchase around the same weight or price per pound as I did. All right, let's look at the keto groceries that I was able to pick up for around $40 to make a week's worth of keto recipes. So first, the 2 items that I ordered that Walmart did not have in stock was skinless, boneless chicken thighs, and I ordered the ones that are frozen. It was supposed to be a 4-pound bag of skinless, boneless chicken thighs, so they didn't have that in stock, so I got it someplace else. This is actually thawed, so that would be a little bit more money, but in the interest of my time, I didn't have enough time to just unthaw some chicken thighs. Although what I'm going to do with them, you could actually cook them from frozen because I am going to cook them in my Instant Pot, but I opted just for some fresh ones. But know that they're going to be cheaper if you buy them frozen in the bag section, in the frozen section at Walmart. The other protein that I picked up was a pork shoulder. Now I wanted a pork shoulder that was around like $8.50 or around $9. You could even go as high as $10. So that's what I wanted to get. They didn't have that in stock, so I had to get it at a different grocery store. My other main source of protein, especially for my breakfast, is going to be eggs. I was able to get a 60-count carton of eggs at Walmart for around $7. And then for additional protein and flavor, I did pick up some deli sliced ham at Walmart. This was $1.67 for this 1-pound bag. I'm going to add that to some of my breakfasts just to add a little bit more protein, and we're going to have it for lunch too. For our source of fat, I did get some cheese. I have 2 different types here. I have a mozzarella cheese and a cheddar cheese and cream cheese. I will be making some chaffles with this along with a little bit of pizza, and these will just also add as flavor to a lot of our dishes for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Like I said before, I'm assuming that you already have oil on hand, so that is going to be another fat source for your keto recipes. When it comes to the vegetables, I have a bunch of green vegetables here. First, I have a head of romaine lettuce because I want to make some salad. I also have some celery. This will serve as like a base for our chicken soup that we're going to make. I have a zucchini to go in a casserole recipe. And then for some flavor, I opted to get some green onions. These are around 50 cents each, and they go a long way and they add a ton of flavor to your dishes. I also got some cauliflower so I can make cauliflower rice. And then I did go for frozen baby spinach because it was a lot less money than the fresh stuff was. I also got an onion to provide some flavor. And since I did have a little bit of money left over in my budget, I did get 1 can of green beans because it was only around 50 cents. So that completes my keto grocery haul. Let's see what we can make with these items. My first goal is to meal prep. So we're gonna first cook our pork roast. I'm gonna cook this in my crock pot, but you could cook it whatever method you want to. While that's slowly cooking throughout the day, I'm gonna prep up the rest of the ingredients. I'm gonna cook my chicken thighs in the Instant Pot. You could actually cook these from frozen too, and I will have the full recipe listed down below, as well as a link on how you can cook them from frozen. But these will cook up in my Instant Pot and I will shred it, so we'll have pre-cooked shredded chicken to use throughout the week. And then the other thing I want to prep up is my cauliflower. So I want to get this cut up and riced up in the food processor. To cook the pork shoulder, we will be cooking it in the slow cooker, and all you have to do is just place it in your slow cooker and cover it generously with some salt and pepper. You don't need to add any liquid, and then we're gonna cover it and you can cook it on low for 6 to 8 hours or high for 4 to 6 hours. You wanna cook it just until it's cooked through until the appropriate temperature and so that it can shred up too. Now to make up our chicken thighs, like I said, I'm gonna cook them in the Instant Pot. All we have to do here is add our chicken thighs to the Instant Pot, and then we're gonna add some liquid. You need to add 1 cup of water to your chicken thighs. If you have chicken broth on hand, that's gonna make them taste a little bit more flavorful, but the water works too. And you'll also need 1 teaspoon of salt for flavor. We're gonna pressure cook this on high for 10 minutes and then let it release naturally for another 10 minutes. Then we'll shred up our chicken, or you could leave them whole if you wanted to, or cube them up, however you wanna do it. I'm just gonna shred everything up. And my tip for shredding chicken is to use an electric mixer. Do make sure you save your broth because you could actually add that to your chicken soup that we're gonna make. If you're cooking these from frozen, you will need to add an additional 5 minutes to the pressure cooking. The next step of my meal prep process, I want to rice up that cauliflower head that I got, just because I want to use it in some other recipes. Like I want to make a chicken and rice soup and then probably add it into some other of my keto dinner recipes. So the simplest way to do this is just to cut it up and then add it into your food processor and then cut it up finely like that. If you don't have a food processor, you could actually use a cheese grater if you have one of those and grate your cauliflower. Another option is just to finely chop it up into small chunks. Let's get started on our breakfast. So the first breakfast recipe I'm gonna make up, and this is something you can meal prep too, we're gonna make keto egg cups. And we're just gonna be putting everything in a muffin tin. We're gonna add some of that sliced deli ham with some egg and a little bit of shredded cheddar cheese and bake them in the oven. And now I'm thinking that about 2 portions will be 1 serving. That's probably enough to see us through for breakfast until lunchtime. So for a family of 4, I'm gonna have to make 16 of these. To make this recipe, first we're gonna start by spraying our muffin tin liner with a little bit of cooking spray. Then you wanna add in your deli sliced ham. I'm gonna cut this in half just to make my ham go a little bit farther. Then we're gonna add a little sprinkling of some cheddar cheese and crack 1 egg on top. We're gonna bake it in a 400-degree oven for around 12 to 15 minutes. One of the reasons why I decided to get eggs in this extreme keto budget grocery haul was because eggs are a complete source of protein. They provide a fat too, so it's fat and protein in going into them, and it's relatively inexpensive. Like I said, I got 60 eggs for around $7.50. Plus, they're versatile. So not only can I make up these egg cups, I can make some omelets. You could do scrambled eggs if you wanted. I'm going to use them to make my chaffle bread. You could add them to really anything just to add a little bit of protein and a little bit more fat to your meals. I figure that these egg cups will probably last us for 2 mornings during the week. If you didn't have it for breakfast, or maybe you're not a big breakfast eater, then you can actually have these as a snack or just later on in the day, maybe for lunch or dinner. Next, I want to get started making our frittata. This is going to be another breakfast recipe that should last us for 2 meals during the week. To make our frittata, you're going to first start by adding 12 eggs to a bowl. And then I'm going to add 1 ounce of softened cream cheese along with my seasoning, which is about 1/2 teaspoon of salt and 1/4 teaspoon of pepper. I'm also going to be adding in 3 ounces of shredded cheddar cheese. In a skillet, we're going to combine 2 of our sliced up green onions along with our deli ham that's diced up as well. And we're going to cook that until everything is heated through and fragrant. It smells delicious. Next, add your egg mixture on top of the rest of the ingredients. And then just kind of stir it just off and on. You kind of want it to start to scramble a little bit on the bottom. This will help cook the underside. Do that for around 2 minutes, just until the mixture starts to pull away from the nonstick skillet. And then you just let everything settle, let it cook for 30 seconds, and then we're going to transfer it into the oven under the broiler to cook for an additional 3 minutes or so. You want to cook it just until it's golden brown on top. Remove it from the oven and let it set for 5 minutes before you take it out and slice into it. Next, I'm going to show you how to make chaffles. Now, these chaffles you can have for breakfast or you can have them for lunch. Like, we could use them on a sandwich. I also want to use them as a base to make a pizza. I have a bunch of chaffle recipes on my website, KetoFocus.com, so make sure you check them out. They're a little bit more tastier and elaborate, but this is just the basic chaffle recipe that involves cheese and an egg. Traditionally, I actually like to add a little bit of almond flour, or you could add a coconut flour too. Just helps give it a little bit of texture to it, so it's not just so cheese and egg texture and consistency. They're still great just as they are, just that basic chaffle recipe. So that's what we're going to make right now. And I am going to be making enough of these so that we could have them for breakfast for 2 days, as well as to go along with the sandwiches that I want to make. Don't worry, this isn't smoke. It's actually steam coming from my waffles that are cooking in my waffle maker. Now, I opted to use my 4-burner waffle maker to make these, just so I get done with making them a lot faster. You could use your mini dash, but it will take you a lot longer. If you don't have a waffle maker, you could actually just use a skillet and cook these up pancake style in a skillet. I'm going to be making up 40 chaffles. So I liked my 4-burner waffle maker just to make it go by faster. We need to make up that many chaffles because it needs to cover a lot of meals. So we will be having chaffles twice in the morning for breakfast. And I'm thinking about 2 chaffles each per person. So that'll be 8 chaffles in the morning for a week's worth of breakfast. I'm going to need enough to make some sandwiches because we will be having that for 6 of our meals throughout the week. I'm also going to be needing my chaffles to make pizza one night for dinner for a pulled pork pizza. Now, the cool thing about chaffles is that you can meal prep them, which is what I'm doing now. I'm going to make up all of my chaffles at once, and then I'm going to store them in the refrigerator. To reheat them, all you have to do is pop them in your toaster or just put them in the oven under broil. So much steam. And the last thing that we're gonna be having for breakfast on one of our days is just to kind of use up some of our leftover eggs, and we're gonna make a keto omelet. At this point, if you have any leftover vegetables, you could go ahead and add that, even that leftover deli sliced ham, whatever you wanna put into your omelet, you can. Now that we've made up a week's worth of breakfast from our extreme budget keto haul, let's see if we could come up with a week's worth of keto lunches. Now, of course, we're gonna be having sandwiches with a lot of that chaffle bread that I made up. So I have some leftover deli ham, so we will have a ham sandwich made out of the deli ham and some chaffles. You could, if you happen to have mayo, I didn't include that in this list because I don't think it really needs mayo, but if you have mayo, you can definitely add that on there, or even some butter is delicious in there too. Carrying on with the sandwich theme, this is where our meal prep of the shredded chicken and also the pulled pork comes into play. I'm gonna be making up a simple chicken salad so that we could put it on a chaffle to have a chicken salad sandwich. And then also we're gonna use it in an actual salad too, with some chopped up romaine lettuce. And to really make this salad delicious, if you had some lemon juice or just one lemon, just like do a little squeeze of lemon juice on top, it would just really up level this salad. With our shredded pork shoulder, I'm gonna be making a pulled pork chaffle sandwich. Now, if you happen to have some barbecue sauce on hand, you can mix that up within the pulled pork and it would be delicious. This is extreme budget, guys, so we don't have any barbecue sauce, so we're just gonna have a pulled pork sandwich. Our last option for lunch that we're gonna make is another chaffle sandwich made out of our chaffle bread that we make. And I'm going to use that pork. It's done cooking in our slow cooker. I'm gonna shred it up and we will have like a pulled pork sandwich. Once again, if you have some sugar-free barbecue sauce that you wanna add, you could do that. I think I'm actually gonna use some of that cheese that we got and put it in the oven and broil a layer of cheese on top and then top it with our pork. And I think that a pork shoulder is probably one of the most inexpensive cuts of meats that you can find because as you can see, it yields a large amount of meat. And there's no need to add any cooking liquid to the dish when you're cooking it in the slow cooker because as you can see, it's gonna release a lot of fluid. And make sure you save that fluid because I'm gonna pour it back into this. This will help keep the meat moist and juicy. Now that we have breakfast and lunch out of the way, let's move on to making keto dinners for the entire week for a family of 4 with the leftover food that we have from our $40 budget. So I have 2 different types of protein that I'm working with to make our meals for the week. We have our chicken that we cooked in the Instant Pot and then the slow cooker pork shoulder that I made up. It made a ton of meat, so I have a lot to work with. It'll definitely feed our entire family for the rest of this week. Now, the good thing about some of these meals that I'm going to show you is that they're already really easy to put together because we've already cooked our proteins. So with the pork shoulder, we're going to use that. We're going to use some of it for a stir fry. We're going to have some of it by itself. I'm going to use it to make some pizzas, some pulled pork pizzas. So half the work is already done because we've already made up this pork shoulder and it's cooked and shredded and ready to go. With the chicken, that's all ready too because we've already cooked that. I'm going to use that to make a chicken soup, which we can prep up ahead of time and then you can just reheat it when you want to serve it, as well as a creamy chicken casserole. Let's first get started with our chicken recipes. First, I want to make that chicken soup. This will be a chicken and rice soup. We're going to use up that cauliflower that we riced up and we're going to add that to it. We're going to use some of the chicken stock that we saved from that was used in the Instant Pot to cook our chicken thighs. And then we're going to use up some of those vegetables like the celery, and we'll put some onion in it too for some flavor. Once again, if you have extra seasoning, please feel free to add it to this recipe. I'm only using salt and pepper to flavor this chicken soup. If you wanted to, you could even add some cheese on it just for a little extra flavor and a little bit more fat to it. This recipe is not very fatty as it is, so you could definitely add in some more oil. If you have butter, you could do that. Cream cheese would be good, or even just some shredded cheese would be a good addition to this chicken and rice soup. Next, we're gonna make our creamy chicken casserole using the rest of our shredded chicken. So everything comes together in a bowl, and what's nice about this recipe is you could actually make this ahead of time as well and just bake it the night you wanna serve it. So we're gonna add the rest of our chicken to a bowl along with our frozen spinach. I'm only gonna be using a half a bag of frozen spinach in this recipe. You could add the whole thing if you wanted to, but I'm gonna use the rest of the spinach for something else later on in the week. I'm gonna add in the rest of my cauliflower rice as well, since I had some left over, along with 3 ounces of softened cream cheese. I'm gonna use up the remaining mozzarella cheese I have, so shred that up and add that to that dish. And then mix that together until it's combined and season it with a little bit of salt and pepper. So I used maybe around like half a teaspoon of salt and a half a teaspoon of pepper. And then to help everything just kind of stick together and when it's combined, I'm gonna use some eggs. So I have 2 leftover eggs from those 60 count eggs that I have. I'm gonna whisk them together and pour it onto my mixture. Next, we're gonna add this to a casserole dish and bake it in 375-degree oven for around 15 to 20 minutes. You just wanna bake it until it's cooked all the way through and it starts to get golden brown on top. This might look like barf in a bowl, but it turned out fabulous, and I'm surprised at how good it tastes with only just a few minimal ingredients. Of course, we could probably kick it up if we had some spices and some other seasonings to go in it, but just for a basic recipe, it's pretty good. Now moving on to my other dinners throughout the week that use the rest of our shredded pork. So first up, we're just gonna do an easy keto dinner, which involves just using our shredded pork and then that can of green beans that I got. I figure 1 can of green beans can be split evenly 4 ways to serve a family of 4. And then I'm gonna sprinkle just a couple of shreds of cheddar cheese on top. Next, we're gonna make a pulled pork zucchini stir fry, and I'm also just gonna add in whatever vegetables I have left over. So I know I have some onion, celery, a little bit of spinach, and we're gonna add that zucchini. We're gonna stir fry it all together, and that's dinner for the night. And our last meal for the week is going to be some pulled pork pizza. So once again, using our chaffles, we're going to use them as a pizza crust this time. Now I did have some leftover cream cheese, around like 2 ounces worth. So I'm going to zap that in the microwave for a couple seconds just to soften it, spread it on top of my chaffles, and then sprinkle on down some cheese and topped with our pulled pork. If you had any leftover vegetables, like maybe if you wanted to save some spinach or some zucchini, you could add that on there too. Or if you had leftover green onions. That concludes our meals for the week, and I can't believe that we actually managed to do this, and they're pretty decent meals too. Of course, like I said, you could always add in some extra seasoning or sauces or flavors if you have them on hand, as long as they're keto approved, to help really add some more flavor and bite to these recipes. But I am quite surprised that we were able to stick to our $40 extreme keto budget and make all of these recipes work. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you guys want to see more content like this, then make sure you let me know down in the description box. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel and make sure you hit the notification bell down below as well, so you get notified every time I post new recipes. Also, did you guys know I have an Instagram page? Make sure you visit me. It's KetoFocus on Instagram. You do want to follow me because sometimes I do give out free Starbucks gift cards on my stories.